Bucaramanga doesn't get talked about nearly as much as Medellin or Bogotá. And honestly, I think that's why the people who do know about it want to keep it that way. It has some of the best weather in Colombia, some of the best hospitals in the entire country, a cost of living that will make your wallet smile, and a quality of life that surprised me the first time I came here, and then surprised me again the second, third, and fourth time. And I'm not just visiting hotels or Airbnbs here. I actually stay with my friends, Hugo and Elsa, real estate developers who build luxury homes 5 minutes from the Palo Negro airport. So when I say I've seen Bucaramanga from the inside, I mean I've lived it. If you want a city that's safer, calmer, more affordable, and more underrated than almost anywhere else in Colombia, this video is for you. Welcome back to the Americano. I'm Matt, and today we're breaking down the cost of living in Bucaramanga, Colombia's famously underrated city of parks. Before we jump in, do me a favor. Tap like and subscribe. YouTube created those buttons specifically so small channels like mine can compete with giants. When you hit those buttons, it tells YouTube you're choosing the underdog, and I appreciate it. Now, Bucaramanga. This is the place that almost feels like it's hiding in plain sight. Incredible weather, friendly people, beautiful neighborhoods, and a cost of living that still feels like a secret. I've stayed here multiple times, both in the city and in a countryside neighborhood called Campo Verde, a place my friends Hugo and Elsa are developing just 5 minutes from the Palo Negro airport. Let's break down what it actually costs to live here and why Bucaramanga might be one of the best kept expat secrets in Colombia. Before we dive into apartments, groceries, and all the costs of living numbers, let's talk about Bucaramanga itself, because this city is one of the most underrated places in all of Colombia. Bucaramanga is located in the Santander region in the northeast of the country. It has a population of around 580,000 people, but it feels smaller, calmer, and cleaner than most major Colombian cities. They call it La Ciudad de los Parques, the city of parks, and once you walk around, you instantly understand why. Everywhere you turn, there are plazas, trees, green spaces, and neighborhoods designed for walking. The weather here is one of the best in Colombia. It's warm, breezy, and consistent, usually in the 70s and 80s during the day with low humidity. It's not too hot, not too cold, and almost always comfortable. If Medellin is the city of eternal springtime, Bucaramanga might be the city of perfect mornings. It's also considered one of the safer large cities in Colombia, and when it comes to healthcare, Bucaramanga punches way above its weight. Two of the top-ranked hospitals in the entire country, Foscal International and Clínica Carlos Ardila Luye, are here. People literally fly to Bucaramanga for medical care. And something that people often forget is how perfectly Bucaramanga is positioned for weekend trips. You can visit the Chicamocha Canyon, one of the most spectacular natural landscapes in the country. You can head to San Gil, Colombia's adventure sports capital, paragliding, whitewater rafting, and canyoning, all of that. And you can visit Barichara, one of the most beautiful, charming colonial towns in all of Latin America. All of these are easy weekend trips from the city. I'll be covering San Gil and Barichara in future videos because they deserve their own deep dive. And one of the things I love most about this area isn't even inside the city. 5 minutes from the Palo Negro airport is a peaceful little town called Lebrija, and that's where my friends Hugo and Elsa are building a beautiful residential community called Campo Verde. He'll build a home on one of his lots, live in it until it sells, then move back to a high-rise in Bucaramanga while he builds the next one. I've stayed with them in both places, the city life and the countryside life, and you get the best of both worlds. So now that you know where we are, let's talk about what it actually costs to live here. One thing Bucaramanga does incredibly well is housing. You can live in the city, you can live in the countryside, you can live near the airport, you can live in a high-rise, and compared to cities like Medellin or Bogotá, the prices here are shockingly low. Let's start with apartments for rent, because most expats and digital nomads start there. A typical 3-bedroom in La Concordia, a nice residential neighborhood, runs about 1,450,000 pesos per month. If you want to go even cheaper, there are places in the city center literally 800,000 pesos per month for a basic 3-bedroom apartment. If you want something modern and upscale, check out Sotomayor or Cabecera. In Sotomayor, a newer 2-bedroom apartment rents for around 2,150,000 pesos. And in Cabecera de Llano, which is one of the best neighborhoods in the city, you can get a 4-bedroom apartment for 3,700,000 pesos a month in an Estrato 6 building. Now, if you're looking to buy an apartment rather than rent, the prices are just as impressive. In Universidad or San Francisco, both Estrado 3 neighborhoods, you can buy a 3-bedroom apartment for around 270 to 285 million pesos, which is literally about 67,000 to 71,000 US dollars. A premium 2-bedroom in Cabecera Estrado 5 goes for around 480 million pesos, or about 120,000 US dollars. In Sotomayor, you can get a 118 square meter 3-bedroom apartment in Estrado 6 for around 370 million pesos, or $92,000. Now let's talk houses, because Bucaramanga has some incredible homes. If you want something affordable, you can get a 4-bedroom house in Cañaveral or Urbanización Fatima, both Estrada 3, for 320 to 450 million pesos, which is roughly 80,000 to 112,000 US dollars. If you want something bigger or more luxurious, Cabecero del Llano has a 320 square meter 3-bedroom home in Estrado 5 for 950 million pesos, or about 237,000 US dollars. And in Lagos del Cacique, the Beverly Hills of Bucaramanga, you can get a 304 square meter 4-bedroom home in an Estrado 6 for 1.3 billion pesos, or around 325,000 US dollars. This area has some of the nicest homes in all of Santander. For rentals, houses in La Concordia or Granjas de Provenza run between 2.5 and 3.5 million pesos per month. And in Lagos del Cacique, you can rent a luxury home for 3 to 5.2 million pesos, depending on size and finishes. But here's the part that most expats don't know. Just 5 minutes from the Palo Negro airport, it's considered La Brija, but my suggestion is don't go to the town of La Brija. 5 minutes from the airport is this rural area, and that's where my friends Hugo and Elsa are developing their neighborhood. But it's not just their neighborhood. There's all these little neighborhoods in this rural area where off in the distance you see the city of Bucaramanga, and you have the wind coming across, or the breeze coming across the mountains. It feels amazing. It's just an amazing area, and it's very rural, but each has a little neighborhood developed there. So it's a really cool place. And the cool thing is these neighborhoods give you big open lots, space, calm, fresh air, and modern construction, all without sacrificing convenience, because you're literally 5 minutes from the airport and only 25 minutes from downtown Bucaramanga. Hugo's business model is simple. He buys land, builds a house, lives in it until it sells, then moves back to his high-rise in Bucaramanga and builds the next one. Because of that, I've stayed with him several times, both in the city and out in Campo Verde, and the lifestyle near the airport is honestly incredible. It's peaceful, beautiful, safe, and surprisingly affordable. And yes, I'll be doing a full video on Campo Verde soon, so you can see the homes, the lots, and the entire area in detail. But for now, the bottom line is this: no matter what style of living you prefer, urban, suburban, rural, luxury, budget, or something in between, Bucaramanga gives you more home for the money than almost any major city in Colombia. One of the biggest reasons Bucaramanga is so affordable is the cost of groceries. Prices here are almost identical to Bogotá, in some cases even lower. But the overall quality is excellent because the region is surrounded by farms, mountains, and small producers. Let me give you some real examples so you can get a feel for it. A 30-pack of eggs is only 10,690 pesos, which is about $2.67. Bananas around 450 pesos, or 12 cents each, so you can literally buy a week's worth for the price of a single banana in the US. Now we're going to be talking in kilos. If you come from a country that doesn't use kilos, aka the United States of a weird measuring system, a kilo is roughly 2.2 pounds. But I'll give you the US dollar price in pounds. A kilo of potatoes is 6,990 pesos, or 79 cents per pound. Onions are 3,600 pesos for a kilo, or 41 cents per pound. Tomatoes are just 2,950 pesos per kilo, or 33 cents per pound. Avocados here are about 1,300 pesos each, or 33 cents. So yes, you can finally become the person who eats avocado every day without going broke. Protein is also extremely affordable. A kilo of chicken breast is 10,400 pesos, or around $1.18 per pound. Ground beef is 26,900 pesos per kilo, or $3 per pound. Steak is 29,000 pesos, or $3.29 per pound. And pork is 25,900 pesos per kilo, or $2.94 per pound. If you're used to North American prices, these numbers feel like you've traveled back in time. For staples, milk is 3,350 pesos per liter, or roughly $3.17 a gallon. And a kilo kilo of rice is 3,300 pesos or 37 cents per pound, or 3,980 pesos or 45 cents per pound if you buy a premium brand. One of the most important things to know is that Bucaramanga has all the major grocery chains: Éxito, Olímpica, Jumbo, Ara, and De Uno. No Caruja here, but honestly, with prices like these, you won't miss it. If you cook at home, you can eat incredibly well here on a budget that's almost impossible to beat in other major Colombian cities. One of the reasons I love Bucaramanga is that eating out here is incredibly affordable. Whether you want a quick street snack, a menu del dia, sushi, Italian, seafood, or fine dining, you can find it, and you won't pay anything close to what you'd pay in bigger cities. Let's start with the basics. Street food is everywhere. Empanadas and arepas run 2,500 to 3,000 pesos. That's 63 to 75 cents. At that price, you could survive an entire day on empanadas if you wanted to. Not saying you should, but you could. A typical menu del dia, soup, a protein, rice, salad, and a juice is around 14,000 pesos, or $3.50. These meals are filling, homemade, and usually better than what you'd get at a chain restaurant. Now, when it comes to nicer restaurants, Bucaramanga has some excellent options. If you go to places like Corralito, their entradas and ceviches generally run between 25,000 and 45,000 pesos, or $6.25 to $11.25, with most main dishes somewhere in the 40,000 to 60,000 range, or $10 to $15. Great seafood, great flavors, and still very affordable. One of my absolute favorites in Bucaramanga is Mia Nonna, an Italian restaurant that looks and tastes like something straight out of Europe. Appetizers here usually fall between 24,000 and 48,000 pesos, or $6 to $12. Their pastas range from about 38,000 to 65,000 pesos, or $9.50 to $16.25. Pizzas run around 42,000 to 54,000 pesos, or $10.50 to $13.50, and their meat and seafood dishes usually sit in the 60,000 to 75,000 peso range, or $15 to $18.75. It's high quality dining at prices that are shockingly low for what you get. If you want sushi, Zeki is my go-to. Entradas run between 28,000 and 42,000 pesos, or $7 to $10.50. Their tiraditos and ceviches are around 44,000 to 48,000, or $11 to $12. And most of their maki rolls fall between 22,000 and 56,000 pesos, or $5.50 to $14, depending on the fish. Even their premium dishes rarely cross the 80,000 peso or $20 mark. For gourmet sushi at this quality level, the value is crazy. For steak and seafood lovers, Mar and Tierra is another standout. Their entradas range between 45,000 and 62,000 pesos, or $11.25 to $15.50. Seafood dishes fall around 70,000 to 95,000 pesos, or $17.50 to $23.75. And their high-end cuts, ribeye, tomahawk, and specialty steaks typically land between 80,000 and 150,000 pesos, or $20 to $37.50. And that $37.50 is typically for a tomahawk, which is a really big steak. In any other major city, you'd pay double or triple. And of course, Bucaramanga has crepes and waffles, which is basically Colombia's unofficial national restaurant. You can get crepes, bowls, salads, desserts, waffles, coffee, and almost everything on the menu falls between 20,000 to 35,000 pesos, or $5 to $8.75. It's affordable, consistent, and always a safe bet. And always a line. And remember, there's no sales tax added to the price. As with almost every country other than the US, all taxes are already included in the price you see, and tipping is typically 8 to 10% in Colombia, not that 20% that you're expected to pay in the US. And did you realize that you're probably tipping that 20% on the final price in the US after sales tax is added? Yeah, I don't miss that. Overall, eating out in Bucaramanga is one of the biggest quality of life perks. You can enjoy amazing food, international cuisine, fresh seafood, sushi, Italian, Colombian classics without ever feeling like you're overspending. Whether you're on a budget or you want to treat yourself a few times a week, Bucaramanga makes it easy. Before we jump in, I've got something brand new that's going to make your life a lot easier if you're thinking about moving to Colombia. I'm releasing a new series of 2026 Colombia regional guides, 7 in total, covering every major region of the country. Each guide includes up-to-date cost of living for the most popular cities in the region, safety indexes, healthcare information, a directory of trusted doctors, attorneys, tax specialists, visa services, and relocation specialists, plus the visa requirements requirements and options, everything you need to plan your move. They're normally going to be $29 each, but for our Black Friday launch through December 15th, they're only $19, and you can add any extra region for just $10 more. They'll start rolling out between December 15th and the 23rd, and every one of them gets quarterly updates through 2026. And if you want all 7 and access to the new Passport community launching January 1st, you can pre-order that now too. Members get all 7 guides included, plus access to our private forums, cost of living data tables, and visa resources for every region. The community will be $29 a month or $299 a year, and there's also a pro plan with a monthly live Q&A session for $49 a month or $499 a year. But right now, during pre-launch, you can lock in the 2026 year for half price, $149 or $249 for the year. And remember, that $249 option gets you live Q&A sessions every month with me on a Zoom call, and you can ask whatever you want. Everything's linked below. Grab your regional guide, pre-order your community membership, and join us as we make living abroad easier than ever. Now, one of the nice things about Bucaramanga is that utilities here are straightforward and very affordable. And unlike Bogotá, where your water bill only comes every 2 months, Bucaramanga bills everything monthly, so it's easier to budget. Let's break down the basics. I called my friend Elsa as well as Carolina to get their utility prices for actual real-world examples. Elsa and Hugo's typical electric bill runs around 150,000 pesos per month, or $37.50, depending on how much you use your AC or fans. Natural gas averages around 50,000 pesos, or $12.50, and water is usually around 150,000 pesos per month as well, or $37.50. Carolina and Jeff's typical electric bill runs around 120,000 pesos per month, or $30. Natural gas averages about 80,000 pesos, or $20, and water is usually around 130,000 pesos per month as well, or $32.50. So Carolina and Jeff's is less except for gas. Maybe they're cooking more and taking more hot showers, since the gas is how they do hot water in Colombia. Now here's something interesting. If you decide to live just outside the city in more rural places, those houses run on fresh well water. So your water bill is literally zero. It's one of those small perks that actually add up over time. For internet, all the major providers are here: Claro, Tigo, Movistar, and ETB. High-speed internet costs around 72,000 pesos per month, or $18. And if you want a package that includes internet plus cable TV, it's about 115,000 pesos, roughly $29. Elsa told me she pays 115,000 for internet and TV. Carolina, on the other hand, pays 65,000 pesos for just internet only, at $16.25. And for your cell plan, it's incredibly cheap compared to the US. Most prepaid or postpaid plans with Claro, Tigo, Movistar, or ETB run between 45,000 and 50,000 pesos per month. And that gives you data, social media, apps, and talk time. You're talking around $12 to $13 a month. For most people, that's all you need. Overall, utilities in Bucaramanga are simple, predictable, and budget-friendly. Another reason why the total monthly cost of living here is lower than in many of Colombia's more famous cities. Transportation in Bucaramanga is another area where the city really shines. Everything is close, traffic is manageable compared to Colombia's bigger cities, and getting around is both easy and inexpensive. Let's start with public transportation. Bucaramanga has the Metrolinea bus system. It's not on the same level as Medellin's metro, but it's clean, reliable, and extremely cheap. Most trips cost 2,700 pesos, or 68 cents, and you can get practically anywhere in the city. Taxis are very affordable as well. Most rides inside the city run between 8,000 and 15,000 pesos, or basically $2 to $4, depending on the distance and traffic. If you're going across town, Cabecera to Cañaveral, for example, you might see something in the 18,000 to 20,000 range, but it's still a bargain. That's $5 or less. Apps like InDriver and Uber work here too. InDriver is especially popular because you set your own price and it's fast. Uber operates, but like in most of Colombia, it's technically in a gray zone, even though nobody seems to be bothered by it. If you live outside the city, like around the Palo Negro airport, transportation is still simple. To get from Lebrija to Bucaramanga's city center is usually around 20 to 25 minutes by car. And while the Palo Negro airport is small, It's very efficient and easy to navigate and has direct flights to Bogotá, both Medellin airports, Cartagena, and Santa Marta, as well as Panama City, Panama, and Miami, Florida. So you don't have to connect to another Colombian city such as Bogotá or Medellin to get back to the States. If you'd prefer to drive, fuel prices and parking are also very reasonable. Parking in malls and public lots is inexpensive, and the roads in Santander, especially the main roads connecting Bucaramanga, Girón, Florida Blanca, and Piedecuesta, are surprisingly good, actually better than Bogotá in most cases. And here's a fun bonus. Bucaramanga is one of the best walking cities in Colombia. Neighborhoods like Cabecera, Sotomayor, and Cañaveral are full of shops, cafes, parks, and restaurants, all within walking distance. If you're someone who likes to leave the house and just explore on foot, you'll love it here. Overall, transportation in Bucaramanga is cheap, accessible, and stress-free, and depending on where you choose to live, you may not even need a car. Healthcare is one of Bucaramanga's biggest strengths, and honestly one of the reasons people quietly move here without making a huge announcement about it. The city is home to some of the best hospitals in all of Colombia, and the cost of care is incredibly affordable compared to the US or Europe. Two hospitals in particular stand out: Foscal International and Clínica Carlos Ardila Lule. Both are modern, well-equipped, and consistently ranked among the top medical centers in the country. People actually fly to Bucaramanga for surgeries, dental work, specialist appointments, the whole spectrum. Medical tourism is real here. Now let's talk about costs, because this is where Bucaramanga really shines. If you have a visa or residency, you might be able to sign up for the public health system, EPS, and it's only about $30 a month. Once you're enrolled, routine doctor visits are covered, meaning most appointments are effectively free. If you choose to go private, the prices are still extremely low compared to North America. A typical doctor visit runs around 200,000 pesos or about $50 US. A dental cleaning is about 80,000 to 100,000 pesos or 20 to 25 US dollars. And specialist, lab work, imaging, all of that tends to be a fraction of what you'd pay elsewhere. Pharmacies are everywhere, medications are inexpensive, and the service is usually fast. You almost never deal with long waiting times the way you would in a big capital city, and most medicines don't require a prescription. Something else to note is that Bucaramanga's healthcare system is known for being organized and high quality. If healthcare is an important factor for where you choose to live, this is one of the strongest reasons to consider Bucaramanga. Let's talk about safety, because this is something everyone asks about, and Bucaramanga has a reputation that might surprise you. Bucaramanga is considered one of the safer large cities in Colombia. It doesn't have the same tourism chaos as Cartagena, it doesn't have the big city problems of Bogotá, and it doesn't have the reputation or crowd size of Medellin. What you get instead is a calmer, more residential feel, a place where families, students, retirees, and professionals all live side by side. Now, like any city in Colombia, safety depends on the neighborhood. Areas like Cabecera, Sotomayor, Cañaveral, Lagos del Cacique, and San Francisco are all generally safe, well-developed, and walkable. These are areas where you'll see people jogging, walking their dogs, sitting in parks, going for coffee, even late in the evening. The usual rules apply. Stay aware, don't flash your phone around unnecessarily, avoid sketchy back streets at night, the same common sense stuff you'd do anywhere in Latin America. In the rural area around the airport that I previously mentioned where my friends are developing, living there feels completely different from living in a big city. You hear birds, not traffic. You see mountains, not skyscrapers. It's the kind of place where people actually know their neighbors, and safety isn't something you constantly think about. And those birds you see might just be a parakeet, parrot, or even a macaw. Isn't that cool? Overall, Bucaramanga gives you a very comfortable balance, a big enough city that has everything you need, but calm enough that you don't feel the same edge you might feel in a more crowded or tourist-heavy cities. If safety is one of your deciding factors, Bucaramanga is easily one of the most appealing options in Colombia. One of the things Bucaramanga is famous for, and one of the first things people mention when you tell them you're visiting, is the weather. And honestly, it deserves the hype. The climate here is incredibly comfortable. Days are warm and even hot if the mid-80s are hot to you, but usually in the mid-70s to low 80s Fahrenheit, and the evenings cool off just enough that you can sit outside without sweating and without needing a jacket. There's also this steady, gentle breeze that Bucaramanga is known for. It keeps the air moving, keeps the heat from ever feeling oppressive, and gives the city this light, airy feeling at any time of the day. It's one of the reasons so many locals spend time walking around the parks. The weather makes it easy. Humidity here is also much lower than in the Caribbean coastal cities like Cartagena or Santa Marta. You don't get that sticky, heavy tropical air. It's cleaner, lighter, and way more comfortable for day-to-day living. Now, of course, it's Colombia, so you will get rain, especially during the rainy seasons, but showers here tend to be short and predictable. A quick downpour and then the sky clears up again. If Medellin is the city of eternal spring, Bucaramanga might be the city of eternal perfect weather. It's one of the biggest quality of life advantages of living here, and the locals know it. All right, now that we've gone through the housing, groceries, restaurants, transportation, and utilities, let's put it all together. These monthly budgets are based on real numbers, actual rent prices, actual grocery costs, actual utilities, and what people really spend living here in Bucaramanga. Let's start with the digital nomad budget. Simple lifestyle, estimated monthly range is $3 million to $4,500,000, or about $750 to $1,125 US. This is someone renting a modest 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in an Estrato 3 or 4 neighborhood and cooking at home most of the time. Rent $1,200,000 to $1,800,000. Groceries $350,000 to $500,000. Utilities around $350,000. Internet and phone $120,000. Transportation $120,000 to $180,000 pesos. Eating out 2 to 3 times a week $300,000 to $450,000. So you're looking at around 3 million to 4.5 million pesos per month. That's $750 to $1,125 per month, and that's living comfortably, not scraping by. Now let's look at a comfortable couple in a mid-range lifestyle. This is the lifestyle most expats and remote workers choose. Rent in a nicer neighborhood like Cabecera or Sotomayor, 2 to 3 million pesos. Groceries, 600 to 800,000. Utilities, 350,000. Internet with TV and 2 cell phone plans, 230,000. Transportation, 200,000 to 300,000. Eating out several times per week, 500,000 to 900,000. Occasional weekend trips or entertainment, 300,000 to 500,000. This puts a comfortable couple right around 4.5 to 7 million pesos, or 1,125 to 1,750 per month. For a city with this quality of life, that's a fantastic deal. Then there's the retiree's lifestyle, high comfort, low stress. If you're retired or just want a higher level of comfort, here's what that looks like. Renting a large apartment in Lagos del Cacique or Cabecera, 3 to 5 million pesos. Groceries, 700,000 to 1 million pesos. Utilities, 350,000. Internet with TV and cell plans, 230,000. Transportation or maintaining a car, 300 to 600,000. Private healthcare or additional insurance, 200 to 400,000. Housekeeper once or twice per week, 300,000 to 500,000. Restaurants, entertainment and outings, 600,000 to 1 million. This puts you in the 5.5 to 9 million peso range, or $1,375 to $2,250 a month. And that's living extremely well by Colombian standards. So however you slice it, Bucaramanga offers some of the best cost of living profiles in all of Colombia. You get an incredible, livable city, great weather, top tier healthcare, fantastic food, friendly people, and some of the lowest housing costs of any major city in the country. Every time I come back to Bucaramanga, I'm reminded why I like this city so much. I've made a lot of good memories here, from staying with my friends, Hugo and Elsa, while they build their homes in the countryside, to spending time in the city, to exploring nearby areas like Giron and the rural zone near the Palo Negro airport. And if you've never been to that area, technically Lebrija, but not the town itself, it's one of the most peaceful places in all of Santander. Fresh air, fresh fruit growing from trees, beautiful views, quiet mornings, and you're 5 minutes from an airport. It's such a unique combination that every time I stay out there, I think I could actually live here. Bucaramanga, Giron, and the entire surrounding region have this special blend of friendliness, affordability, comfort, amazing weather, and just a really high quality of life. There's no pretense, there's no big city stress, just a genuinely livable place with some of the happiest and warmest people in Colombia. So if you're looking for a city that hasn't been overrun by tourism, has great infrastructure, incredible healthcare, and still keeps its small city charm, Bucaramanga should absolutely be on your list. Thanks for watching the Americano. If this video helped you, or if it got Bucaramanga onto your radar, hit like and subscribe. YouTube literally created those buttons so small channels like mine can compete with the big guys, and when you tap them, it tells YouTube you're supporting the underdog. And don't forget to sign up for The Passport, my free email newsletter and digital magazine, Brokor, my real estate newsletter, and Bogotá Nomads, my free expat and digital nomad community here in Colombia. All the links are below. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a full video on Campo Verde or a comparison video, Bucaramanga versus Medellin or Bucaramanga versus Cali. There's a lot to explore in this city, so if you want more, just tell me. As always, stay curious, stay adventurous, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.